So yes, I am Jill Jolly and can never be miserable. So definitely, even though it's a bit damp where I am this morning, but the other person who is helping us this morning, Kathy Shimin, has been my great assistant. She will be looking at all your Q&As and actually firing the questions at me. We're also joined by the lovely Ian, and Ian Pembridge is from the DSC, and he's actually also helping. So if you get an answer back in the chat or even in the Q&A, it's either coming from Kathy or Ian. So a big thank you to them for actually helping out, because it's difficult to try and sort of share things with you, but also read the chat function or the Q&A. So welcome and thank you to both of those. So yes, just to re-emphasize, please use the chat function, as I say, to connect, tell us where you are, share things with each other, network, and as I say, make those connections. But also use the Q&A function for any questions that you want to be answered later, but also if you've any tech issues. Please feel free, I say, to also add in to that Q&A, but just make a note that it's not for answering today, but areas that you might want other support in, because you never know, we may be able to do something about that. But it'll definitely, in terms of planning for things for the future, whether it's DSC, whether it's ecclesiastical, whether it's in partnership, whatever. But again, we want to hear from you if there's things that you still want to hear about. So use that as a function. You will get a survey and asked to complete that after today as well by attending. Use that as well to share anything you'd like to find out more about. But today we are going digital. So again, we're just going to be sharing some research findings. I know I've done this in previous sessions, but again, it's just so you've got some background. If you're suggesting internally to people, we should be doing something. Very often, it's not just because you thought it was a wet Tuesday morning and came up with this bright idea, but again, you've got something to back it up. So again, I want to share a few things, but also give you the sources of where I've got sort of information or where you can find other findings. I'm going to talk about what's meant by digital. And as I say, I'm sure some people are perhaps feeling a bit worried about this. Oh my God, it's a bit techie. Am I techie? But as I say, I think some of you will be surprised. You're already doing things that we think are definitely we're classing as digital nowadays. And also, again, I want to share some ideas and examples, hopefully, just to inspire you. Not necessarily to copy, although copy is a good form of flattery, is imitation's the good form of flattery, but just help you to think through things. And that's why I think by sharing examples, it just thinks, well, that wouldn't work for us, but my goodness, it triggers. It's that thought process that sometimes helps to trigger. And then, as I've said, at the end, we're going to do a Q&A session as well. But I know there's lots on the call this morning, so please be patient. And if we don't get to your question, it's not that we didn't want to. And I know Kathy tries to bundle a few up together that are very similar. So don't ask anything really techie. We've not got the time to go into that sort of detail. And again, it's probably going to turn everybody else off. So we tend to concentrate on things that will be of general interest, or there's several people asking the same sort of question. So just to give you, but stick your questions in and hopefully we'll be able to deal with as many of those that we can. So what's it all about? Well, 2020 was a very strange year. Talk about understatement, but definitely in terms of fundraising and charities, we definitely saw rapid shifts in behaviour of donors and supporters. And so again, there's some research reports there that are highlighted because they do provide a very valuable insight into the changes and the impact that this is all having on in terms of supporters. So they're all vital so that charities can plan their fundraising activities, taking into account, what donors and supporters are responding to at the moment. So, some key facts that come out of the NTU's Donor Pulse Autumn Survey, which came out in October. So the Z generation, this is those 18 to 24-year-olds. And so many times I talk to charities who previously have kept saying, we want to get more younger supporters. Well, goodness, they're starting to give. They are starting to get engaged with charities. So we definitely need to make sure we're engaging with this audience. And this is where digital, we're talking in the language, using the communication tools that are very familiar to them and things that they're using. But it's not just young people, as we're going to talk about later, but it is a great way of actually tapping into that Generation Z, those younger supporters, and they are supporting charities. Also, you say we're definitely seeing that think local causes are definitely rising in importance. So we need to tap into this trend. So even if you're a national charity, it's about focusing and segmenting your markets, segmenting your audiences, and thinking about the geography and giving them a local message, even if you're a national charity. Also, if you're international, again, it's about who else is supporting in a local area and making people feel they're part of a tribe, a term that we'll come back to again. And digital brand, your brand in the digital world is important, so that we want people to remember who you are, so that they don't just give and forget. Again, we're going to talk in this session about how very often sometimes it's the person who's doing the asking, it's not necessarily the cause that's motivating. But once we've got them on board, we want to engage and make sure we do get a connection. So is it something that you can actually strengthen with your brand, so it does become pretty memorable? So a few other key facts, which again are really vital in terms of this particular area of fundraising. But, there's organisations who are sort of, surviving and even doing well. So again, I do talk, unfortunately, to quite a few charities who are struggling. They've seen a big loss of income, but, others are seeing increases of income. It may be their flavour of the month because they're doing things very much at the front line in terms of COVID delivery, delivering to patients or families, supporting, this roles within the pandemic. But also, again, many organisations and individuals are starting to realise it's wider than that, and other charities are needing support. But 44% of organisations who were questioned as part of the Blackboard and the Institute of Fundraising survey, and the report, you say, is down at the bottom, but 44% of organisations were found to be willing to innovate and try new things. And you know what they said about the dinosaurs? They didn't, move on. There was necessarily, are we into evolution or revolution? But we do have to change, otherwise we will be the dinosaurs and become extinct. 6% of respondents said that they'd done some form of virtual fundraising during the pandemic, with over 3/4 using it for the first time. So if you've not started yet, there's no time like the present. But also, again, I'm sure most organisations have done something that we will class as virtual. And again, I'm going to define that later on. But also overall, 64% of respondents found that virtual fundraising was a great way to attract new supporters. So obviously over time, we do lose supporters, but we're always looking to retain, and we're going to talk about using digital to actually help with that retainment, but also in terms of acquiring new supporters as well. So I think definitely, and that's what this slide's about, is just, yes, we do need to be thinking about fundraising in a virtual world. So where do we start? Well, what is virtual fundraising? Well, again, in terms of preparing for this, I've done a bit of research myself and tried to find some definitions, but it's really interesting how lots of different people and organisations define it as something slightly different. So here we are with one from UNICEF. So it's about a way to raise funds for the causes you care about whilst the current lockdown measures are in place. And it's really interesting because, you say, lots of organisations were starting to do things in the virtual arena even before lockdown, or at least doing things in a digital way. So this is it. So are we talking virtual? Are we talking digital? Again, we tend to interchange those words. But also, you say, again, we've got another one. There's definitely, I say, an element here. COVID-19 restrictions are putting a pause on most face-to-face interactions. Well, I say, it's lovely. I love to see people online, but I'm starting to forget when I saw a real person. Although I say my window where I'm sat most of the day actually looks out onto the front of my garden, and then I've got a road and a footpath, and it's the main footpath that goes through my village. So I do see real people that go past the house, but I don't talk to them, you say, because they're outside and I'm in. But it definitely is a way that overall we can connect, we can have interaction. We can inform, we can encourage, we can motivate, we can inspire, we can ask as well. We can thank, we can inform and update as well. So using the tools that are now available to us is a great way to do our fundraising. But it's also a great way to maintain support, as I've mentioned, as well as to attract new audiences during these tough times. But definitely, I think it's something, and I know Angus mentioned it in his introduction, will we ever go back to what we were before? And I think this is where we're going to end up with some sort of, mixed model. We're going to be doing things, because again, I used to be forever jumping on a plane, jumping on a train, jumping on in the car to go to places. And sometimes you say it was only for a 2-hour meeting. And sometimes these things can happen in a virtual arena. But also there's other times when sometimes you say that face-to-face contact will be important. But at the moment that can't happen. So we are using those substitutes. So he's definitely here to stay. And as we've already said, that 60% of charities did some form of virtual fundraising during the first lockdown. There's lots of look at those figures. In terms of 150 virtual events, it enabled 1.8 million participants to actually raise £60 million. So if we're not convinced about the value of virtual, I think you should be now when you've heard those figures. 45% of those were new events, but also 38 were pivoted, things that were already planned and then waited to actually make it work in this virtual arena. 82% were physical activities, with 11% of actually those live streaming. 5% raised more than £1 million. 78% raised less than 100,000. With the median. So you remember your maths, that's not the average, but the most likely amount was £33,000. So again, organisations are raising big bucks, but organisations of all sorts of shapes and sizes are raising money through this real essential tool that's there. So what are the tools that are out there for us? Well, again, we said before, things changed in 2020, and I certainly became aware of Zoom. I don't know about you, but before last year, definitely before last March, I thought Zoom was an ice lolly that I used to buy as a child very often, perhaps when we popped into a garage to get some petrol, or is it in my village, our garage is also a local shop as well. So but it really took off as people were confined to their homes, and it's definitely been something that's allowed people to stay in touch with day-to-day lives. I regularly talk to my mum. I've had 2 new members of the family arrive during lockdown, sort of since all this started. So I've been able to see them as daddy weenie babies. But obviously there's other products around. I need to sort of say this, obviously there's Google Meet that you might use an awful lot, MS Teams, whether it's GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar. But I think overall, especially in a personal environment, it does seem to be Zoom is the one. And a big thank you to Zoom, who very often you say the 40-minute free, which is great. We don't even need to have a subscription. The 40-minute free often does get extended, and allowed me to play Monopoly with my sister down in Cornwall over the Christmas break as well. So looking at those figures, just between January and mid-March, so we weren't really into the pandemic real big time, but just in that sort of short space of time between January and mid-March last year, Zoom usage increased by 67%. But the UK government uses Zoom to actually hold cabinet meetings and all sorts of things, and it's also used by 90,000 schools in loads of countries around the world to enable children to still get lessons remotely. I know it could well be your bandwidth is starting to struggle, because possibly some of you who are homeschooling, possibly there are kids at home are about to connect onto a Zoom lesson. But you say many people are using Zoom. Our target audiences are definitely using it. And for lots of people who are on the call, your primary audience for supporters are actually older people. And don't think, goodness, we can't interact with them through technology. My goodness, there's again loads and loads of figures out there. In the socioeconomic income groups that we're looking at, Most of under the 65, most of the under 85-year-olds are actually on it. But, my dad's 88. I was having a Zoom conversation with him at the weekend. So there's plenty of those over that 88 as well. But also friends and family are actually helping them to connect. They know they've not seen, other members of their family or their friends. So again, it's a great way to connect. I know some are using FaceTime, but again, it's just people are using the technology and getting used to seeing people who are actually on a screen. I know sometimes, unfortunately, people with Alzheimer's or various forms of dementia really struggle to understand it. But I also do worry about some of the younger people. I say, I had as a family member having a third birthday the other day, and I thought she won't remember the time before you used to talk to people and see them on an iPad or a laptop or whether it's a phone as well. So this technology is absolutely great way to actually connect, to reconnect, to engage, and to build or to maintain relationships. So I just want to share with you an example about Earthwatch. Again, many of you may be familiar with Earthwatch, but they're an environmental charity. And one of the things that they do is they do expeditions. And Earthwatch recognised that they got people who've been on an expedition 10 years ago, and they've not really connected with them that much since. So they actually got in touch with them during lockdown and recognising that, as I've shared with you before, but if you've not heard me saying it, but there's lots of people sat at home and you've got time that you didn't have before because you're not even doing the daily commute into the office. You're not having the same social life of going in and out of different places in an evening or a weekend or travelling for a weekend away or even that lovely holiday that you might have been planning as well. But they decided they would use the opportunity to reconnect with 650 of their people who'd been on one of their expeditions and not really had very much contact since. Out of that 650, they got 100 actually got back in touch, and then they've subsequently had Zoom calls as a way just to update, to inform what's gone on in the organisation. My friend went on one of these expeditions quite a number of years ago. She went counting. It was at the time when through the Gulf of Mexico. I can't remember what the species of whale was, but I know she went on a whale counting expedition. And so again, they were updating people. What had happened to, the species of whale that were being counted? What were the numbers like? What was Earthwatch doing in terms of their policies, but also their direct work to actually help in the environmental crisis that is going on around us as well? But he says, so out of that, he said they got this contact. And then out of that, they've actually asked them to share their stories. And they've made a book up of those. But they've definitely reconnected. They've re-engaged with these people. And many of those will actually become new supporters. Now, another example, the lovely Susie Thompson, who's director of the Royal Northern College of Music. She actually started a blog which originally was weekly, and then they took it down to fortnightly. But again, making it regular is something that is definitely important, because consistency, so people know this is happening, and it's happening. I've enjoyed today's, and we'll find out what's happening in another couple of weeks as well. And this was all about keep the music playing. So they were sharing stories about what they were doing to enable musicians to actually keep playing music. And then on the back of that, having used it to inform, to update, to share stories, that stories is such a great way to inspire people, they then used it to actually launch an online appeal. And you can see at that stage how things were actually doing. And it was the most successful appeal they've ever had. So as I say, great way to engage, to connect, and then possibly at a later stage to start asking or inviting people to have that opportunity to make a difference and help that change come about. Another one is down in the southwest, the Children's Hospice down there. They used to have business breakfasts, but again, physically you can't do that. So they took those online using, Zoom. So again, every month they've carried on having a business breakfast. So those businesses get the benefits of connecting, but also they're getting updates. What is going on in the way that children with a terminal illness are being cared for? down in the southwest. And I heard a lovely story about someone who was one of the business people on that call back in December. They actually had somebody sharing their story about a family of how they had been supported through the COVID pandemic. And afterwards, one of the guys, he said, "You're Charity of the Year. We're not going to stop you being Charity of the Year." So even though there was no ask, it was about connecting, enabling people to keep in touch. It was about sharing stories, sharing success, but sharing how work is still able to continue in these difficult times, but to support people who are in an incredibly difficult situation, to show that they have still got care and support going on. And that was so inspirational. You say, without even an ask, it actually resulted in that company not just saying, "You're Charity of the Year this year, we are going to continue." There's other charities, you say, everyone seems to have a podcast. No, I don't actually. So if you're looking for one, I don't yet have a podcast. I say yet, but I don't know whether I ever will. But again, it's a great way to share information about what you're doing, giving hints and tips. Marie Curie, the example here, you say the Marie Curie couch. But again, on a regular basis, they actually use their podcasts to help connect people, to help inform. But also, it's a great way to have engagement with people, which then in turn gives you a great base of supporters through which you can actually help change the world and make a real difference to the people your organisation is there to support. So again, I just wanted to give you a few examples there of how other charities are using. They're not necessarily using it to fundraise, they're using it to connect. So this is it. Using digital in the world of fundraising is helping us to connect, and that is such an important part. Again, we talk about supporter experience, we talk about donor journey, but using this technology is a great way to ensure that we are not just treating our donors as an ATM, that we are connecting, we're keeping them informed, we're keeping them involved, we're updating, we're sharing stories of success, we're sharing stories of things that sometimes aren't working, but hopefully we're inspiring and letting them know there is still need for their help and support. So moving on to think about direct fundraising, I think this is a great diagram that really just sort of starts you to think, because they're all online fundraising methods that is a way that we're actually connecting with people as a way to promote our cause, but also as part of a donation process, as a way to actually connect with people and give them an opportunity. So what we're going to do is very quickly go through each of those just to give you a little bit more as a basis. But again, just using some stats to back up what we're talking about here. So, looking back at what we're saying is, online giving, but also merchandise sales, crowdfunding, text to give. You'll see some of these here. So online giving directly through social media, my goodness, 94% of charities are likely to do this. But also just looking at some of those other things, virtual challenges using fitness app, 82%. Give as you shop. And again, there are sort of other products available, but it's not huge amounts of money, but what you're doing is enabling people to connect with you. They're enabling, recognizing the fact that so many people are doing shopping online. So there doesn't seem a day when I see about 10 DPD vans go past. They're still got lots of branding on their vans, but I know there's lots of other colour vans that are sort of delivering either Amazon parcels or other couriers are around out there. But you say such online shopping. So whilst it's not huge amounts of money, getting somebody to sign up, it's just connecting them with your cause. And at least when they're actually doing their shopping, every time then they're just thinking, oh yeah, and a little bit goes to the charity I've decided to support. So there's team virtual events going on. There's online video game streaming going on. There's online streaming of quizzes, performances, and there's definitely online streaming of exercise classes, as well as crowdfunding going on. So let's start with the problem, you say, and really just to reiterate, there is this uncertainty and lack of confidence in people getting together physically, and when that is actually even going to start happening. Now, in the autumn, I was part of a webinar that Fundraising gave some examples, and they were sort of saying that branded mass events were likely to start in, say, smaller social distance events, February to March, but they were still pretty high risk. I should imagine anyone who got anything planned for this month or next, that's been cancelled or moved or abandoned totally. April to June, they were saying that was going to be medium risk, and opening up from July to September with definitely a lower risk. Now, when I put this together last week, this is what I was predicting, saying April to June is now that high risk. So having nudged that back from what we were talking about February to March earlier, with the summer being medium risk and then opening up from early autumn with mass normal type of participation events probably won't be happening until Q1 of 2022. But then last week, various things happened. We've definitely heard, in the last week or so that Glastonbury has now 2021, there will be no Glastonbury. Those lovely fields will get time to rejuvenate even further. So that the lush grass will be there for 2022. But also is there, even as of the 27th, this is literally from their website, but the RHS has actually now postponed the Chelsea Flower Show, which is one of those great spring events, that takes place in late May, early June, has now been moved back now to the autumn. So again, taking the lead from what other organisations are doing, this is where you say it's worth monitoring to see what's happening and who is taking, decisions about what it is that they're going to be doing. So interesting. So going back to thinking, though, about what's changed in terms of our supporters. Well, not that much in terms of the behaviours of humans, whether that's individuals on their own or in groups, whether that's a family group, whether it's a group of friends, or within even, a work environment. But say these things still underpin the sector. So people still want to help others. People want to give and make a difference. They want to have some impact. And I think there's even more. We feel so out of control. So if we can actually use our fundraising support as a way to retain or regain some control, that's going to be a really big in terms of what we share in terms of messaging. But there's this sense of purpose and community and this localism, as I mentioned before. People are getting to know their community more. They're actually discovering who their neighbours are, who are the people who live down the road or the next couple of roads, because they see them on a regular walk, or they're bumping into them when they are popping into that local shop because they've run out of milk. People want to be part of something with others. This is, many of you will be familiar with that term, but, want to belong to a tribe, which underpins lots of psychology with individuals. People want to get involved with current trends, things that are popular. They don't want to be seen to be missing out on something. So again, pivoting things and to turning things into virtual. Again, when you're having conversation, oh yes, I was doing that the other day. I mentioned before, yes, I was playing Monopoly. I'm so excited on Saturday night, really close friend of mine, his daughter got in touch and said, we're doing a surprise birthday party for Dad on Saturday. Are you in? Yes. 7 o'clock with a glass of wine. Yes, we're in. But, this is it. People want to belong to something and people want to connect. And even if it's social, but also we can turn those social things into fundraising, because I know that's also, we're doing a quiz and it is going to be for a charity. So people like to follow, although there are still leaders out there who want to set the trend. So again, people are getting more active, but in a way that's active for them. So that might be actually just going up and down the stairs. It might be doing that extra bit on a dog walk. It might be their gardening. It may be their cooking. So don't just think everyone wants to do, a 26-mile marathon or whatever. Or you say, I know Eddie Izzard's about to finish the huge thing that he's been doing, but not everyone is about to do that. So just think about what's active in the way. But again, people are wanting to get moving, but in different sorts of ways. People need and want meaningful experiences to enhance life as it is, because life is quite boring. I don't know, I'd resisted, but I finally signed up to Netflix in January. But I thought, oh gosh, when we went into this latest lockdown, I thought, oh, there's so much crap on TV, a bit of rubbish. So I thought, let me have the choice. And I know I really enjoyed The Dig. On Saturday night, we turned it into a cinema night here. We had hot dogs, we had popcorn, and we had our own cinema night watching The Dig. And this is it, the thing, we know that people care. They want to make a tangible difference to others more than ever, because we are being touched by the stories we hear, the problems that we know that people and organizations are facing, groups of people, groups of individuals. You know, again, there's lots of you say, musical venues shut down, there's theatres not happening. So again, whether it's the organization or the people benefiting from what they're doing, but people do want to connect and make a difference more than ever. So again, I just want to share sort of a bit of a graph that, again, it was already happening, but I know I sort of had to get my purse out for something the other day, and I still sort of, now I don't think I'm really wealthy, but there was a wad of cash at the back while I sort of went to get one of my credit cards out. I then thought, yeah, I got that money at the start of the lockdown, you know, the first one back, sort of, in 2020, and I've not spent it. Now, it doesn't mean I've not been spending. I've told you I've been doing lots of online shopping, but cash versus card payments, we'd already seen, and you can see there that card payments was increasing and cash payments was going down. But I think this is a really interesting one. The BBC sourced it from UK Finance, and just look at where that's being predicted to go. So again, the whole of what we're going through is actually speeded up this huge process. Even my local fish and chip shop, will no longer accept cash, and you've got to pay by a card. So definitely, we've got card machines out there. Digital is definitely replacing physical. Even Movember there, they've got embedded in there. I'm going to mention QR codes, but definitely say even using badges that then people can put their phone against it and actually give. So online giving definitely is there. Have you got that donation button on your website? If not, why not? Again, even if you say we've not got a budget to actually start redesigning our website, this all costs money, we can't do that. But it's very easy just to even link it to a Just Giving page. So you've got your own Just Giving page that again enables people. They've read your stories, they've heard what you're doing. We always need to ask people. I'm a great believer that donors aren't telepathic. So we need to ask in order that people have the opportunity, if they want, without pressure. But again, if organizations don't ask, the general public out there thinks you've got enough money. So what you should be doing is just making sure you've got sort of donation buttons all over the place. So again, people know if you're asking, it means that you need the money. And then link that to what it is that you're trying to do, trying to change, what you want to achieve to make life better and different for others. So text to give. Again, there was talk about this was starting to drop, but again, if you've been on some of my other webinars, I gave you some incredible figures previously about text to give. But again, it's such an easy way that people can give through just texting a code and an amount. Comic Relief is being launched today. Now I know some of you will have a big sigh when you hear that and think, oh, they have all those resources. Is that going to take money away from us? But what it's doing, it's giving people an outlet, an opportunity. And I'm a great believer. I told you I'm the eternal optimist. But as people get giving, they also think about other charities, other organisations they want to support, other causes that mean something special. So I always think if people are giving to one cause, they might be thinking, what else should I also be getting into? So it might be peer pressure, they may be sort of taken along with the momentum. But again, as Comic Relief moves forward, you definitely will see lots of opportunities to text to give through that. It is also known as mobile giving. Again, it was always not been on a tube in London for an awful long time. But again, lots of adverts there because people were sat there and it was just a quick way, share a quick reason why someone should give. There's a problem, there's an issue, you can help change it. text to give, and people regularly would do that when sat on the tube while they got that sort of few minutes and nothing else to do. So crowdfunding is one type of online fundraiser that relies on a variety of donors to make small and medium-sized gifts. So again, there's all sorts of different crowdfunding campaigns that have been running out there. I know sometimes even musicians have been doing it just to say, help me fund, my next recording of a new album. But as I say, within the charity world, it is a popular way. So again, you might have something small, discreet, tangible. I would always, unless you're a huge charity, don't aim for a huge amount, because that is one thing with crowdfunding, you need to reach the target. Sometimes you say it's a great way to actually involve perhaps a major donor or possibly even a corporate supporter who perhaps will match fund. And so you get it off the ground that way, and then it's a great way to unlock some other funding as well. But definitely, definitely gets spread, and this is it. You want the word to get around. People within networks through social media, using things like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so again using emails as well to get the message out. Now, peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns or social fundraisers it's sometimes known as. This is where people themselves are actually doing their own fundraising. So again, we've seen lots and lots of examples where that's been happening. Going back to last April when the London Marathon didn't happen, but it became the 2.6 challenge. And really this was using that basic principle of peer-to-peer fundraising, where an individual or a group of individuals would agree to do something or decide they wanted to do something, whether it was inspired by an organisation saying you could do this, or whether just the momentum. And again, we're going to see that happen lots, out there. Comic Relief is just being launched and saying, why don't you fundraise for us? These are the things that we want to achieve. These are the differences we want to make to people's lives by the help that you can give through your gifts and your own fundraising. So while some people will directly donate to Comic Relief, other people will then choose to do their own thing. So, you might say, why don't you do a cake bake? And you have a big cake bake, but not everyone is interested in cakes. Perhaps they can't eat cakes, or just they're on a diet and say, no, I can't do that. So yes, sometimes it's good to give people an idea, and you might sort of do a big promotion by saying, why don't you do your own cake bake? But again, sometimes it's just about letting people do what's important to them. So they may be turning, their regular exercise into something else. And again, on the news this week, there's a guy who's just starting a 4-mile walk every day. Now you might think, crikey, 4 miles, I do that most days. But this is a guy who's paralyzed from the waist down. And he's got an incredible piece of kit that enables him. He only goes slow, but he's actually physically walking with the aid of this kit that helps him to stimulate his muscles. And he's going to do this throughout February, 4 miles a day. And again, we've heard lots of examples. And obviously, we must be thinking about Sir Captain Tom Moore, who's poorly in hospital at the moment in Bedford. Because again, he's inspired so many people thinking, well, if this 99, almost 100-year-old guy could do what he did, why can't I do something? So again, that's using that basis. So people are choosing sometimes the thing that you're suggesting, or they're actually just saying, I'm doing this and I'm doing it for a charity, and then setting up their own online giving page that they're then sharing that through social media and connecting with friends and family. Then other people start to find out about it, and sometimes it does hit local or national media and then encourages more and more people to actually get involved. So merchandising and other sales. Now then, there's two aspects to this. It may be that, you've got merchandise or other sales. And I know, again, this morning, Comic Relief was saying, I heard Sir Lenny Henry on the TV this morning launching Comic Relief. But he was actually saying that the red noses this year, because again, we're obviously a lot more aware about the destruction that plastic causes to the planet. So apparently it's a plant-based decomposable red nose, but it can't be eaten, I need to say. But so again, that's a time-limited merchandise. In order to get your red nose, just go and visit. I'm not promoting it for them, but I'm just saying that's what you say some organisations are doing. You might be encouraging people to do a run for you at the moment, or just recognizing people are doing more exercise. Why don't they get your t-shirt, your running vest, your cycle shorts? So again, you might have this time limited merchandise, and it's a way to generate some money using an online shop. But also, it is that other way to raise profile and awareness. Because you know what? If someone is running past, I told you, I see the main footpath in front of my house. Not seen anyone in a branded running vest. Oh, gosh, literally, someone's just gone running past at the moment, and I can't believe it. They're wearing the charity my husband works for. They're wearing his charity vest. Wow, I couldn't have set that up. I really wanted to turn the screen round so you could see that. That is quite spooky. So this is it. So people going out. She's got that over a long sleeve t-shirt, and so she's obviously perhaps she's doing something possibly even for that charity. That would be great if she is. But again, you might be sending it as an incentive when people sign up or when they raise a certain amount. Just think that might be if you raise it up to, when you hit £100, we'll send you our running vest, or, sign up to this, pay your registration fee, and as part of that, you get it. But also it may be something that you actually want to sell. So it might be, could be that t-shirt that people, it could be a mug or whatever, but there's things that may be relevant, helps reinforce your message. But again, it's something that keeps people connected for longer with your cause. But also when they bought that thing, they've actually made a contribution. But also just think about, lots of charity shops. The high streets are shut at the moment. Only sort of, essential shops are actually open at the moment. So that is anything relating to food, depending where you are in the country, and who knows how long this will go on for. So many organisations have pivoted, but some started to recognise we don't have charity shops, but people want to donate things to us. I know an animal welfare charity who is saying looks after equines, and they wanted, people wanted to give them, horse blankets. They wanted to give them tack, and they said, we've got enough for the horses that we've got in our care. We actually have enough of this stuff. But then they set up an eBay shop, and it was a great way to generate income, because they would sort of accept good quality secondhand goods. But also it's a way to connect. So people were visiting their website, they were connecting, and then as a result of that, we're finding out more about the charity. So it's part of that sort of ongoing process. We don't just ask someone the first time we have a connection. Sometimes we build up a relationship, they know us through other things, and then start to think, hey, this is a charity that I'm involved with, directly or indirectly. Perhaps I should be supporting in a different way. And virtual events. We've already touched a little on virtual events, but virtual events can be fundraising events as a great way to actually keep people connected. But to say, might have a wine tasting, you might have a quiz night, the famous lockdown quiz. Again, I think we used an example before from Marie Curie. They managed to get all sorts of wonderful people to host their quizzes. And I know Jodie Whittaker did a Doctor Who theme quiz. So that was a great way. But again, it's a great way, even just to, as companies are looking for ways to connect and keep their workforce connected. Many people say working from home is great, but I'm not connecting with my colleagues. You might be doing Pizza Friday. I don't know, lots of charities are doing this because, again, teams are dispersed. But again, sometimes, even if it's not a fundraiser, but it's something that you might want to offer to one of your corporate supporters, or put together a toolkit that can be used with your corporate supporters, not necessarily to raise money, but to give something back. Again, those of you who've been on previous sessions will know that one of my mantras is it's got to be a win-win. We've got to give something back as well as take. So that can be quite a practical way to give something back, but a great way to connect people. And I know within the Jolly family, we all started to not declare our true scores because we were doing the Wednesday lockdown quiz in the first lockdown. And the joy and the prize of winning was that you got the privilege of actually designing the next quiz. So this is it, when you were giving your scores at the end, you'd always knock a few off with the hope that you wouldn't then be designing the next quiz, because again, sometimes it's a bit fun, but sometimes it's, oh my goodness. So to actually get that in from a charity, it's just a great way. And again, you might be able to share some interesting facts and information about your cause. So again, just some stats here just to help you, as I said, to back up your argument of what we should be doing as you move forward. But again, this is a graph of adults who donate to charity are more likely to do so if they can directly do it via a social media platform. So again, looking at those different age groups. So the very purple bit on the left-hand side is they're much more likely, and then the lilac are fairly more likely. So, so there are people who are more likely and much more likely. Obviously, much less likely, again, there are other people. So again, this isn't instead of, this is as well as. So I know many charities are still doing the paper drop. I got several Christmas appeals through my letterbox. I know on the last call, I shared something that had dropped out of my subscription to the Radio Times that had just sort of come through. So it's not an either or, it's to supplement and reach new audiences and reach audiences who wouldn't respond in perhaps a more traditional way. Again, looking at some facts around if adults who are more likely to donate when they see their friends doing. So this is peer pressure. This is following the crowd. So this is it. So knowing what's going on, we need to pivot some of our activities. So no longer are we having those collection boxes. We're having things that are contactless. And don't you love that with Blue Cross? So many people who are out with dogs, assistance dogs, very often get approached. So Blue Cross have maximised on that. And so for owners who want the opportunity at certain times to put that on their dog, they're encouraged to do so. So again, even, that lovely one with having the touch to donate, tap to donate in the window. Again, there's one for prostate cancer and then at an entrance to a museum. So some were doing this before lockdown, before the pandemic, but also others have been doing it as a way to enable people to still keep giving. We mentioned before, give us as you live. But again, there's easy fundraising, and obviously don't forget Amazon Smile. Just very, very small amounts, but small amounts start to build up. Remember what your granny probably said to you, look after the pennies and the pounds will look after themselves. We've already talked about, doing virtual physical activities and doing a run or something else, but definitely take that online. So many organisations and many individuals took up that 2.6 challenge, and 75% of fundraisers chose to set up a page for that challenge on Just Giving. So again, that just shows the power and the ability and the reach, because it's virtual. They did, individuals did the activity, but they did their fundraising through what we would talk as a digital method or in a virtual arena. We've already mentioned Captain Sir Tom, and again, some incredible statistics there. And that was just one page on Just Giving. We mentioned the RHS before in when we were talking about it's the Chelsea Flower Show, but here the National Garden Scheme, which often people know as the Yellow Book, they pivoted, but they were about hosting your own garden party, which was about doing that in September. But again, many people many charities who've done garden open days and things in the past have actually then encouraged people, and you can see, if you can see my cursor there, on their website, they've got virtual garden tours. And I know quite a lot of charities who, so many more people are proud of what their garden looks like at the moment. In my village, I regularly get asked, will you open your garden? And I think, oh gosh, I'll have to do so much weeding before. And I always manage to find a suitable reason why I'm not around that weekend or not able to do it. But, loads of people have been spending time in the garden and they would have been very willing. But again, it couldn't happen. So it could either be really scaled back and just saying, if we can, or if we could last year, just have 6 people in the garden. But again, just think about, we could do that as a virtual. And with a camera on your phone, everyone can become a filmmaker. So 22% of all UK fundraising is event fundraising. So we definitely need to think about how to actually turn that online. We've seen lots of examples of things that have been done. I know I might have shared this with you on one of the other sessions, but if you weren't on that, again, such a big And everyone's always saying, we want the next Macmillan coffee morning. But again, Macmillan, it was a huge income generator for them. And they had to think quickly what they could do to make it work. So whilst they were encouraging people to do things within whatever the restrictions allowed at the time, which was last September, they also pivoted it and said, do the famous thing. Here we are, get your cup, take a selfie and upload it onto our wall and pay a donation to, make a donation in order to do that. So it was a great way to connect, and people could then have a look, see their family and friends. They could do a search on it as well. So this is it. So it was their wall of support. And you say, in the end, when they thought London Marathon, having moved it from April into October, it only ended up being the elite race. And I did sort of really sympathise with the organisers, because it was their 40th race and they wanted to make it really special. But again, it did become special in its own way. So some other examples of other virtual events, Miles for Refugees that the British Red Cross turned into a virtual event. So that was one that they pivoted. It was just a walk previously, but then they talked about it in a virtual. So 7,000 participants, and it raised £2 million. And again, some other examples of different virtual events that other charities have been running. So what we need to, some important things that we need to take into account. There are benefits to going digital and running things in a virtual world, but there are also some challenges as well. So again, I'm a great believer. I think about the positives, but understand what might be some of the issues around. So either you can overcome them, or, at least start to reflect it within your targeting and your budgeting as well, and use that as well to understand what extra support or how best to support your participants. So often people like to do things and they connect. They're already using tools. Lots of runners actually do Strava. They like to understand where they've been, what their rates of running were, the speed that they were going at, what was the miles they did today, and all these things. So again, Just Giving very quickly, started to link this with Just Giving pages so that people could actually live stream their activities. And that seeing is believing was great, but also joining people on their run. And even though you perhaps weren't going to sort of, join them physically, you could actually join them and see where they were running. They might have been running through some interesting countryside, or at least just pounding the streets where they lived. So again, just think about what are some of the key benefits around those sorts of activities as well. This live streaming is very, very popular in all sorts of different, so it's not just running. Definitely people can share a live stream video. So it might be, you are baking a cake, but it can be shared live stream. And lots of people, do like to join in, see, and it does actually inspire other people. Said, crikey, if they can do that. And why do we think, when Bake Off happens, the Channel 4 series, and then the Celebrity Bake Off, there is definitely an uptake in flour sales and all the other ingredients that go into some of those products and cakes. So again, it's just a way that people then also themselves get inspired. So we can have campaigning pages on things such as Just Giving as well. And also Just Giving enables you to set up QR codes, which again, something that we thought had disappeared, but they're making a big comeback. And you can use them on your home website, homepage. You can use them for campaign pages on your fundraising pages. So they enable you to convert more donations online. It can be used for gift aid, and it can be printed out and displayed in lots of locations, such as, charity shop windows or even car parks. And again, it may be you've got a car park near to something I've been doing quite a bit of work with in the heritage arena, the sector. And again, lots of people, they have a car park, but they've still got dog walkers. And so they're using this as a way to say, well, normally the car park's free, but enable us to reopen and donate to park your car while you go for your dog walk. So just a couple more slides before we open up. But you say, definitely, birthday fundraisers. I'm definitely getting a link sent to me about this birthday fundraiser that we're doing at the weekend. My friend Brett, But Facebook's doing it. You can set up something on Just Giving, but again, definitely, I really hate paying postage for things. I know I can have a gift delivered online, but also people say, well, what on earth do I want at the moment? Unless it's another bottle of wine, perhaps. But you say it may be a way to donate to a charity that we know is close to an individual, or they've said, I'm not having presents this year. I'd like donations to go to my favourite cause. So just to wrap up then, so factors for success for your fundraising in the virtual world. Just think about your audience. Who are the people that you're targeting? What experience do they want? What is it that they really enjoy? What's important to them? And just remember, they want to belong to something that's not just them. They want to belong to something bigger, so they're part of a tribe. What is the product that you're offering? So this is the thing they're using to connect. How do they connect with you? How do they make an impact? How do they have fun with it? And as a result of that, through the money that they're generating, the support that they're giving, they can then become a better human being. And your charity mission, you say, we want to use these tools that we've got, not just to encourage people to fundraise in a way that's easy to do it and a way that they can do it now and it's safe, but also we want to connect with these people so that it's not just this one-off, that we have the opportunity to build a long and lasting, meaningful relationship. We can inspire them to raise money for us initially, or support us by volunteering or giving of gifts in kind or whatever. But also we can use this as an opportunity to thank them for their generosity, thank them for their support, and then we can update them. Because we thank straight away, so they know we appreciate what we've done, but we do need to update them so that they know what has been achieved within our organisation. Tell them about the changes that have been brought about, the changes in the way that we're operating, but also the changes that have been made to the people that we're there to support, so that they are benefited and they know that their money or their support has made a real difference to real people. Remember, that underpins all of our fundraising. Whatever method you're using to do it, we still have those same principles. We're just using different tools and media in which we can actually connect. So that brings us very nicely to our Q&A session. And I'm sure that Kathy and Ian have been very busy looking at what's been coming in. So Kathy, do you want to join us on screen?
Yeah, can you start my video, please?
Right, you should be able to switch it on. Angus is up.
Here you go. Great session as always. Thank you, Jill. And you know I have to do my little sort of geographic rundown, which goes from Dublin to Lincoln to Exmouth to Cumbria to Brighton to Newcastle on time, right back down to Devon again, and all the way through Derbyshire, Cambridge, and right up to the Highlands. So great geographical reach as well today. That's great for everybody.
Well, and knowing some of the places, Kathy, you've just said we've got people online with us from, the reason some haven't joined us is they're probably outside making a snowman or having a snowball fight, because I know there's big swathes of the UK covered in snow this morning.
Yeah, the swathe of the northwest just got drizzle, so I hope somebody is enjoying the snow, and I hope nobody's getting too badly damaged by it. A couple of practical questions. I'm always sorry if I miss a bit of this, because if I'm scribbling down the question, you may have in the next thing you said answered this question for the participants. Some examples of text to give providers.
Right. What I don't want to do is just give one that I know. The easiest thing to do is just Google or whatever other search engine, but also talk to other charities that you know and just actually say, who are you having a good relationship with? Is that I don't want to, great, someone's put something, and in fact, it's that provider I used as an example in one of our previous workshops, webinars. So but he say, and that's great. Someone else has come on saying, I would really recommend donut, and another's agreed as well. But yeah, I don't want to feel like I'm really endorsing a particular product or a provider, because that you say I might have had a particularly good experience, a particularly bad experience that isn't necessarily reflective. So just do a quick bit of research. Again, the network's going mad. This is great. Share things with each other, and it gives you a starting point. So yeah.
Yeah, and there is lots of chat going on about a few different things. If you look back through the transcript of the chat, you might be able to find things on that. And you might say the same about this, actually, Jill. Ideas, where can we sell our merchandise to raise funds that isn't eBay?
Well, again, people, I'm told I'm not that techie. I can't do it myself, but I'm told it's not that difficult to set something up on your own website and actually have a shop, but you need that payment process. Some of your own database systems will allow you to do that. Some of your own website providers will allow you to do that as well. But I don't know what the problem is with eBay, but it's like with these things, there's often several different mechanisms, but one starts to sort of stand out. Lots of local areas have got their own sort of sites. Again, my nephew down in Cornwall is in Bude, that there is this Bude network, and he's forever sort of buying and selling stuff on that. So again, just look, if you're a local charity, are there local things that are doing, providing that service? And again, they're often free and don't take commission. It's just a community facility as well.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. We're going to go the same thing. Any recommendations for contactless donation devices? And somebody was asking about QR codes. I will do a bit of a shameless promotion, and I don't promote very companies, but I haven't got his details to hand. Get hold of Lee at Angle, ANGAL, and they've got all sorts of and they're working with hospice fundraisers, Institute of Fundraisers, everywhere. So they do lots of that kind of thing. Jill, a couple of tips and ideas for how we can use Twitter and Facebook a bit better to raise digitally. What are your top tips then?
Right, well, that's really interesting. I know there's quite a few charities. I think there's a brain cancer charity doing some great stuff where they get a Facebook group around an activity, and so they then become the mutual support. Again, I got some slides I was going to include in this, and then I thought, we've only got limited time. We could be here all day. We could be here all week talking about this. So I definitely, that was sort of part of my first edit down. But yeah, so it's sort of, you bring people in, they form a Facebook group that you help facilitate. But this is the key thing, though. You do need to. I know one of the criticisms or one of the challenges for many charities is then you do need to sort of keep an eye on it. So even though you're connecting them, it is associated with your charity. So you do need moderators. But going back to that concept, people want to belong to something. They want to be part of a tribe. So this is their tribe. So they're sharing tips about their fundraising and so they're connecting. And it's a great way then to update and inform, to share some stories about the work that you're doing, the past successes you've had, to get some of your service users to share their story to help inspire and motivate. And so it's a great way to get people connecting. So it becomes a SEAL group. They opt to join it, but that way it becomes self-supporting, and those people themselves then start sharing tips. Again, if people are going to do a run, so again, it may be you then insert someone to help give them some training tips and things like that. So they're being supported by you, but there's lots of self-support going on as well.
Jill, we know the joy of small charities, but a couple of questions here around small charities and small donor bases. So, we've got a small supporter base, and then online fundraising is very limited. But there's another question as well that says similar thing. We've got a low customer base, but actually, are there any websites or platforms that you can put your stuff out there that has that common interest? People might find a common interest.
Well, again, I would look to see, again, you know, there's this locality. People want to belong to a community. So again, find out what's happening in your local community. There are lots of different communities setting up their own Facebook page, which is a great way to share things and be part of. So you're not necessarily having to do it, you're participating in somebody else's. But again, I'll share. I didn't have a Twitter account, until last year, because it's just something, I just didn't have the time to sort of, connect and look at stuff and whatever. But it is. If I can do it, anyone can do it. I really do. See, I'm really lazy because my other half is an absolute techie genius. So I just don't bother. I just say, "Oh, can you sort this out?" Which is really bad. And I've just thought, this is really bad. I've really got to take control. So
yeah, Jill, the answer to the delegate is not my husband will do it.
No, it's definitely not.
You need something different. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if I can do this, and this is it. So get yourself a Twitter account and just post things. Don't just post random stuff that's of no interest, but join in other people's conversations, because people put stuff out there, you react to it, you comment about it, but then it's a chance to share your own stuff. You say, I'm absolutely useless, I don't do it very often, but as a small charity, it is a great way to actually get your message out there and start to have a following, and then follow other people, follow other organizations, and then people will start connecting with you. And it's a great way to get your message out there using, you say, Instagram as well. There's so many other platforms. Again, I don't want to go totally mad, but TikTok is growing in such popularity. I know there's lots of crazy dances and different things going on, but again, if you've got a group of supporters who that motivates them, they want to post stuff, they want to do something crazy because it's a way they're connected. It may be you've got a band who would normally do a concert, or a choir would do a concert, so again you might be able to link with them and they can do something online and then share your message as well at the same time. So some of this stuff, it's really easy to do. Oh good, I say somebody's just put something, yay, somebody's doing a TikTok or doing a 24-hour live stream, and it's already raised 3,000. So again, find people who are doing these things, people who are already connecting with you, and it's almost, don't do it yourself, get them to do it for you. It's back to that peer-to-peer and other people doing things on your behalf and sharing your message, but then getting them to connect. I said before, loads of people are doing podcasts, and again, loads of people are listening to podcasts. So again, as a charity, why don't you start at your own podcast? You don't have to commit to do it every week. Perhaps start off by doing it every fortnight or every 3 weeks, or the first Wednesday in the month or whatever, and use it to share something that's relevant to the people who you support, you care for, you provide services for, but who volunteer with you. And again, by encouraging people to join in with that, we're getting that engagement and in the involvement that really does actually help.
Thank you very much, Jill. Jill, you might look just back to the start of the questions. There was a question from Nadine about Earthwatch linking with people and whether it was within GDPR guidelines. Again, it was something I was trying to capture and copy. And obviously to talk about it.
Yeah, obviously to go back 10 years, you say, and they've obviously had permissions to be in touch. So yes, you obviously need to take into account, have you, got the relevant permissions. But yes, obviously, I'm not going to quote something that wasn't within appropriate regulations. But obviously, but again, this is a great time to go back through your database. People who are still perhaps just receiving your newsletter, yes, they've opted, they want to receive your newsletter, and you're connecting with them. So again, you might use that to say, we're going to do an online, but you need to register. So again, use possibly that digital online newsletter to connect with people, to give them something proactive to do. We're doing an online behind the scenes tour. We're doing a rehearsal. Again, I use sort of, an example with the Northern College of Music. So depending what your organisation is, come and spend, an hour on our unit while we're doing something, or see how, again, so many runners, many cyclists will have a camera on their head. But, why don't you do that a day in the life of? So again, people can click in and see what's going on, and they get to really experience experience what's happening. You just have to remember to turn it off when they perhaps nip into the bathroom there.
Okay, yeah. Again, I think you've given a couple examples across the board, but in a small town, what's the best methodology for gaining attention locally to let people around you know about your services? So this might be a digital versus question, because that's the starting point with digital, isn't it? Digital versus, shall we? No.
Exactly. But again, use your supporters, use your staff, use your your volunteers. Again, lots of charities keep saying to me, oh, we're desperate to try and keep our volunteers engaged. I'm a volunteer with various charities, but I know one charity sends me a Friday email, just tell me what's going on, but also giving me opportunities to do things as well. So one of that is, I can be starting to think about some fundraising opportunities. But again, what we don't want to do is lose those volunteers, so that when we do start to do things in a physical world, whether it's fundraising, whether it's providing our services or whatever, but use those as your advocates, get them talking. So again, that might be another reason why you just have, let's just have a quiz for all our volunteers to come together. So when they're together, you just say, could you just spread the word in the different things that you're doing? And this quiz is available. You can use this to connect your family and friends. They don't have to make a donation to the charity, but, and perhaps with the quiz questions, or you send something. So there is some profile raising about your cause as well. So just think creatively. Think about what you normally do and say, how can I do that now? Can I do it physically, or can I do it virtually in this sort of day and age? And again, I know so many organisations, originally they were just doing a coffee and chat. Something else that I'm involved with, we're doing a nosh and natter. Again, we just know that people over lunch, that might be the only time. We know people are really busy, but we're just saying, because we don't want to do things in an evening because it's sort of semi-professional in wearing a work hat on. But we just say we've done coffee and chat, we've done tea and talk, but we're now trying a nosh and natter session just as a way to connect people. And it's just come along and just meet. It's only half an hour, so there's not a lot of time to do things, but at least you're connecting with other people. But again, your charities can be doing these things as a way to connect people. There's lots of people who are bored with the TV. They can't do anything else. They've done their exercise in the day. They're not going to go on their static bike now. They can't be bothered making any more cakes because the freezer's already full. So what are they going to do? So it may be a great way to say, hey, this is happening tonight. I could join in with this. And so again, even on a Thursday night, perhaps Friday night, people are doing a personal thing. Join us for a glass of wine or bring your glass of squash and just connect. But then you say you might do things just to engage people. But then you might say, right, well, we're going to have a speaker. Well, you might be a health charity. Well, give an update on something. But there again, people are just wanting to escape COVID. So maybe you're an organisation that's got a historical base. So again, possibly you did lectures before. People did a guided tour. So again, one of those volunteers who perhaps did those guided tours could perhaps just share some of the facts that they've found out about their organisation, or about the building or whatever it is that you're doing. So people can share something about the organisation that perhaps gives them a closer link. Or you could share a story, someone who's benefited from the work that you do. So again, it can be a chat with someone who's benefited from our services, and they can tell you the difference that your support has made. So again, it's a great way to connect, and that's something that could be done during the daytime, depending on your audience, or in an evening. But as I say, definitely on the whole, avoid Friday nights. But Thursday nights, Wednesday nights tend to be good. And I know someone was talking about awards, and again, something I'm involved with. We're doing an awards ceremony. And it's a great way, again, to pull people together and recognise what people are doing in difficult times. I think we've time for perhaps one last question.
I think I've got one more. I wanted to highlight a couple and say, Jill always says there's one or two things she'll take via LinkedIn. People are talking about loss of income because of COVID, with one funder saying, the applicant saying, we can't meet face to face because of COVID, and the funder saying, well, you're not operating under normal circumstances, so we can't fund you. Yes. That kind of a vicious circle, that kind of thing maybe they can bring to you. Also, people asking questions which might be a little bit offside, things like setting up a CIC so that we attract that corporate sponsorship and so on. Again, it's in the other videos. So I'm going through this. I'm going to come to you with this one, and because it's based on what you were last saying, I don't know myself how much of this is about creativity and how much of it is about, hang on, there's a process here, just follow these steps. But somebody has an online fundraising page with CAF, but have no donations, haven't received any donations. So how do you raise the awareness for that campaign? Becomes a bit vicious circle, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. There's no point just having a page, because people won't necessarily just fall onto it, whether it's CAF, whether it's Just Giving, whether it's Virgin Giving. Again, lots of different providers out there. So you need to promote that. You need to send the link to your page, and that's where you can use all sorts of different social media to do that. But again, on your website, have you got something on your homepage that directs people there? So again, I visit so many charities websites. I can tell you loads of them bore me to death, and I'm not being super critical, but it never changes. And I just think we're in a changing time. Fine, you still want your same basic content, but put little banners up, put little boxes up, so you're focusing on something. It's a bit like the email footer. Again, might be your IT team do that. Or you use it, you change it every month or even every 2 weeks. So it's almost like, you're being proactive there. So just think of some of the things that you're doing in that arena and just apply it to your websites. And again, what are you doing to drive people to your website? Are you doing things that are using social media? Or you're sending an email out to your supporters, you're sending something to your volunteers. Just think about who you're connecting with and how you're doing things, but also use other things, like I said, about things that are going on locally. See if there's something that's, the local, BBC regional news programs are always looking for content. So again, I know people are saying, oh, it means work. But look, we didn't get anywhere in this world without a bit of hard work. And there's things that you aren't doing. So just think, I've freed up some time. And if I can reach a bigger audience, crikey, through 5 phone calls or some emails or whatever. But then sort of people are looking for content. Other people are looking for content. So see how you can connect with those and just use again all the outlets, your social media, different links. And tell your supporters thing and ask them to share that with their networks as well. So it's this, trickle effect. You're telling 5 people, those 5, if they tell another 5, and those 5 tell another 5, we're in this huge pyramid. And that's what you were trying to do. And that's, again, what some of the things when you can repost or follow something. So again, comment on something and put your own links in there and encourage people to go and visit your own homepage, perhaps, so that people then are actually sort of hitting that homepage and then seeing something. But share some stories. Stories is part of our DNA, as we talked about a little bit last time on your messaging. Stories connect, but there's so often we just think about stories about our service users or our beneficiaries. We've got so many stories. Why is a volunteer involved? Why is a donor involved? Why is a trustee involved? But also your founding story. There can be some incredible stories that build up around all these wonderful organisations that I know are on this call today. So just don't think tunnel vision. Just think, 360 degrees. Think roundabout. What are some of the stories that we can use to share to engage people? And again, do think about that podcast element as well, so that people are connecting. And again, things don't sort of happen overnight, and don't say after 2 weeks, well, not a lot's happening. You just have to keep persevering, and things will then start to improve as well. So I think you say in terms of timing, Kathy, thank you so much for gathering up some questions. And for those of you out there who think, I thought I had a really good question, she's not answered it. As I said, I'll put the offer out there. We're talking about digital today. That's what today's subject was about. So if you've got a question, I will deal with the first 3 of those that come to me via LinkedIn. You can easily find me on LinkedIn, and I'll come back to you on those. So let's just go back to our screen share, because I just want to, gone too fast. So again, Where do you go? More information, next steps. You say the ecclesiastical website, there's a huge amount of information on their charity fundraising hub. So please do go and have a look at that. And then again, DSC, the Director of Social Change, again, there's loads and loads of links there, but just again, going to the homepage, you can find loads of then different links to the different parts of there. But you say DSC is there to support you out there, helping you to help others. As we've already mentioned, this is the 5th of our series of 5 webinars. So definitely need to get my tissue out. It's been great connecting with you over, the last couple of months doing this, but that's the list of what we've had. Way back, before Christmas, we talked about the fundraising environment and also your fundraising plan. There's no point doing things without having a plan. We then talked about the fundraising sources and the methods to tap into those. We then, just a couple of weeks ago, talked about your fundraising message in current times. Today, we talked about going digital. And again, that's the website in which we can link. But I just want to hand over now just for some final words from Angus. So over to you, Angus.
Hello, thanks, Jill. Sorry, I'm obviously not quite as digital as I thought, pressing the wrong button and turning my camera on early, so I do apologise.
Well, at least I don't need to do that famous one, Angus. You're on mute.
Yeah, that's kind of like the catchphrase of 2020, isn't it? If you had to sum up 2020 in a catchphrase, probably you're on mute. But there you go. That is digital. That is the opportunity. One day we'll all learn. I just want to say a couple of words on sort of behalf of Ecclesiastical. First and foremost, we're, from the bottom of my heart, I really do hope this series of events and the web page will assist and help the organisation. Now, it's not for me to say, granted, but from first impressions on numbers of participants, the amazing level of chat and questions that are going on, great interaction, it kind of feels like it has helped. So, but we've got fingers crossed we've helped your organisations recoup possibly some of their lost funds. I do want to say a big thank you to DSC, and particularly Jill, and everyone behind the scenes. I think we definitely got the right partner. Again, probably evidenced by the level of participation that we've seen. So I want to say a big thank you to them. As Jill said, it was quite sad when you sort of logged on, thinking, oh, this is the last one. But I think we've got to reposition that. Just like your fundraising, you've got to reposition it. It's the end of the beginning, not the beginning of the end, okay? So hopefully we've been able to give you some tools, fire up your enthusiasm, have, as Jill says, this 360 lateral thinking environment that will now allow you to have the courage sometimes it is about courage, sometimes it's about getting enthusiasm, getting the right people, but the enthusiasm and courage to go out there and try something new, and again, all about recouping the lost funds so that you can keep going with your activities, help your beneficiaries and make that impact. Okay, so that was a couple of things. I think the last thing I'd like to say, and this is probably more of a personal thing, you're all charitable organisations on this call. From a personal point of view, I just really want to say over the last sort of 12 months, or we're getting into 12 months-ish now, I just really want to say a big thank you for all of you, and for all the work that you've done and sticking to the cause, because it has been probably the most dreary 12 months and, very somber and sober statistics you watch on the news every night. This has all been going on where society's need and your beneficiaries' needs has just been going up exponentially. At the same time, you've faced the challenge of your funds probably going down at a 45-degree, if not steeper angle, making the whole environment much more difficult to keep society together. I do believe you are the glue of society. So I really just want to thank you for everything you've done, sticking to the cause, and I really, really do wish you all the best for the future, and that in some small way, these webinars have helped you achieve what you want to and sometimes need to achieve, unfortunately, okay? So I just wanted to say thank you, okay? Over
Great.
to you,
Well,
Jill.
thank you very much indeed, Angus, for those final words from yourself. And that's it, just remember, you can't do everything. So pick off what you can do out there, because I know sometimes it can feel really overwhelming. So pick off what you can do and plan for what you can do in the future. But concentrate on the things that you can do now and plan to do other things. Perhaps you say you can recruit some extra volunteers, because I know capacity is such a big issue with smaller charities, especially, but larger charities as well. But believe in yourself and know that you are making an incredible difference. Without you doing your incredible work in your causes, the world would be not what it is today. I know some of us think the world does need to change, and we want it to change, and we want to get out of lockdown, and we want to be rid of this virus. But as I say, we're all doing incredible things. So believe in yourself, be kind to yourself and to other people as well. So thank you all very much indeed, and all the very, very best as you move forward. So you say thank you and goodbye. The famous Zoom wave.